Greetings, wrestling fans. You're watching the RYSE Report. We are your hosts, the one-man multiverse, Danny DK Abel.
The Rev Ron Hart, baby.
You're watching us right here on Armstrong Cable. Be sure to follow RYSE Wrestling on all your favorite social media accounts. They've got Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat. Check us out on indiewrestling.us. That's where you can catch all of the great RYSE action online.
Like me talking.
And you can catch us live right here at 1952 University Drive in Lamont Furnace, Pennsylvania, each and every month. Last month's event was called Challenge of a Champion, and Rev, you want to start us off?
It was a big kickoff. I think one of the matches that first kicked off that full night of Challenge of Champions, the bloody adorable Jinx versus the one and only Mambo Italiano. If you cannot think of any two polar opposite opponents, I don't know what does it more than this. You have one that's an authentic Italian, the rich pizza, the kisses, the dancing, the pasta, better pasta than what you would find at Olive Garden because it's authentic. But when it came down to it, this was a match that definitely went what I would say is a limit. I think, Bloody Jinx did something that probably no one expected her to do. She took Mambo Italiano to the limit. Mind you, Mambo Italiano was not alone. He had Benjamin C. Steele ringside looking for any advantage to try to get a leverage. And, we had an upset at the end.
Well, yeah, you thought that would be an advantage, but it turned out to be a disadvantage because Jinx caught them both off guard, sliding between Mambo's legs to kick BC Steele with the baseball slide, roll Mambo Italiano up and get the victory in a huge upset, which allowed her to qualify for the championship match later that night.
And the thing is, if they think that is surprising just with Jinx getting that big upset and qualifying, wait until you hear what happens all throughout the night to set this big stage of what we'll be talking about at the end of the show.
All right, and the second match of the night saw Man of War Zach Thomas taking on his former partner in his return to RYSE, Atticus Cogar. Why are you shaking sunflower seeds?
This is big, sizzling, baking sunflower seeds. The reason why I was shaking this, because you just kicked it off. You said, who are the two opponents?
Man of War Zach Thomas and Atticus Cogar.
Big match to kick off for the second match of the show. Big match.
It was a big match. They are former partners. They came together here back and forth. They knew each other very well. Zach Thomas actually answered the call because he was Atticus's former partner. He thought that he could take him out, and he could have taken him out at one point in this match, but
I think it was one of those things to where, just like you stated before, the last time that we saw Atticus Cogar here, as well as Zach Thomas, they were a team. Matter of fact, I think even taking a little bit further, they were brothers. These were guys that ransacked all over not only Pennsylvania, but Ohio and whatever area, state, company got them. So I think it was important to look at when Atticus Cogar finally came back. Just like you said, DK, this was the very first time that these two guys that consider each other brothers, pretty much blood, are now finding themselves of what is in Zach Thomas's name, men at war. And that war went the limit. I think a lot of times, even when I spoke to Paul Atlas and even when I spoke to Jim LaMotta, they said this is one of the very first so aggressive, hard-up matches to just even be one of the second matches in all of RYSE history. Both of these men were out for blood, complete blood. And I think even just looking at some of the video, you would see just the intensity that they had through this match. We're talking about slams from the top rope. We're talking about some devastating moves that would typically put people out, put people down, no matter how high you are in whatever company you wrestle for. These guys found enough willpower to kick out. You know what? Call it crazy, call it stupid, but they took each other to the complete limit. And just like you said, it could have ended with Zach Thomas probably getting a victory, but he decided to do something which a lot of people say completely cost him that match.
Well, how can you say otherwise? It was a stupid decision. He lifted Atticus Cogar's shoulder off the mat and decided to get vindictive and deliver an electric chair drop, but Atticus reversed the electric chair, planted him with a headlock driver.
Yep.
And then he got the victory over Thomas. Foolish mistake and allowed Atticus to get the victory.
I think this just speaks to just one of many emotional moments and high-intensity matches that happened all throughout this event of Challenge of a Champion. Continue to stay tuned because we're going to be talking about even more of that right after this.
Stream live and recorded content anywhere with EXP from Armstrong. Stay connected to the content you love. With the all-new EXP app, you can browse and manage your shows and set recordings for TV shows, movies, and series. Plus, you can stream your favorite networks directly from your DVR or with TV Everywhere. At home, the app also lets you transform your device into a second TV screen or remote control. Your content, your way, when you want it. EXP from Armstrong.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the RYSE Report exclusively right here on Armstrong Cable. Continuing on with what we say is a full action-packed night. We had the Grindhouse, Shirley Doe, and Beastman versus TME, the main event, Duke Davis and Gannon Jones Jr. And to even consider this a match, I feel is a heavy understatement, DK. I mean, this was something that completely took a little bit of time for the referee to even start because there was so much chaos that happened within us. I mean, they couldn't even get to the ring before they started brawling in the crowd.
Yeah, that's pretty much what it boiled down to the whole way from start to finish was a brawl.
You know what? They have you drooling at the mouth, don't they? They have you drooling. Let me fix it.
It's a lot to digest, all the action that came out. Yeah,
I think
I said, Duke was taking the blunt of the hit. From Doe and Beastman from the get-go. They started fighting in the aisle. They ended fighting in the aisle. It's an action-packed segment here at RYSE Wrestling.
I think when looking at it, one of the things that really stuck out to me, and I think one of the reasons why you're speechless is because not only were you speechless, guys in the locker room were speechless. Commentary was speechless. I myself was speechless because we saw the main event get taken to a place that not many, if anybody, has seen them get taken to. We're talking about a wild caveman named Beastman. We're talking about a guy that's known to come from a nut house, as in Shirley Doe, a guy that's been a legend, not only in the Pittsburgh area, but I want to say the tri-state area as well. So with all of this, with the weight on the side of the Grindhouse, with the mindset and the veteranship on the side of the Grindhouse, we saw what a lot of people consider a fan favorite, the main event, who are two giants by themselves, get taken to certain limits. In particular, Duke Davis himself. I mean, even looking back through it, and I don't know if we can show some of this video, but you would see so much pain that was on the face of Duke Davis just with him getting stretched, or even, Beastman using the weight of himself on Duke Davis. And like you stated before, this was a match that went so far beyond the limit. I mean, these guys were throwing bare knuckles at each other before the bell even started. When there was finally some order within the match, then all of a sudden it came down to it. But yet, what I would consider one of the biggest matches that we've seen had miscues all over because of the chaos. For example, even when at the very point when Shirley Doe tried to throw some powder into the eyes of the main event, it was a miscue. Gannon Jones Jr. ducked right out of the way. The powder went right into the face of Beastman, so much to the fact that Beastman hit a powerful move on Shirley Doe and tried to pin Shirley Doe, thinking that it was a member of the main event. So, and that's just a little bit of the miscues that happened within that. And my question is to you, are these people going to stop at any means necessary? This match didn't even finish with a winner. The whole locker room had to clear out just to try to break this up, which still probably took about another good to 10, 15 minutes. So I don't think we've seen the end of this.
Yeah, I mean, well, that's why you said from the beginning that you could hardly call it a match, because it started with a fight in the aisle, it ended with a fight in the aisle. The whole locker room got involved. No contest, I guess, is the decision. The referee didn't really make a decision, but that's kind of what you get from it. And I just...
Well, you know why the ref didn't make a decision. He was knocked out.
Exactly.
The ref's completely knocked out.
That's how the brawl ended up deteriorating. But you just think of the fact that the main event came in here and they're fan favorites now because of what happened to them last month. It's been a rough couple of months for the main event since they had the tag titles stolen from them. They got the snot beaten out of them. And I mean, they delivered a little bit as well to Doe and Beastman, but it's been a rough couple of months for the main event. And that match just escalated things, I think.
I think when looking at them, I think we're all well aware that the main event is known to have some home field advantage, what they would say. And it's one thing when you lose at home. It's another thing when things don't go your way and it feels like, again, you don't get your just due at home. And to see to the fact that no matter how much chaos happened, the main event was able to chase the Grindhouse out, I still say that there is still a lot of anger, built up aggression, and a lot of things that the main event feel like is due to them. They have a lot of intensity behind them. Like you stated, I don't think they're over getting those tag team titles stolen out of them and them being crowned the very first RYSE tag team champion. So I don't think we've seen the end of the main event, but I also say we have not saw the rest of the craziness from the Grindhouse.
All right, the next match of the night, we saw the main event's other member and their least popular member, Tony Johnson, taking on Brandon Cain, who we've seen is on his retirement tour, I believe, and he's picking out his opponents one by one. Tony Johnson didn't love that. He decided to start taking on Brandon's former trainees. He eventually attacked Brandon. What are you?
I'm sprinkling a little season. Like this.
We don't need seasoning, and we don't. It's not very professional to be eating sunflower seeds during a brawl.
Well, I mean, it is professional when you realize that we're only about halfway through the show, and yet we're still having phenomenal match after phenomenal match after phenomenal match.
So you're just sitting back with a snack,
yeah,
as they play the replays over our conversation.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Because
Well,
at the end of it, this gives me a sweet taste in my mouth. Unlike the match with the Iceman Tony Johnson and Brandon Cain, particularly because of how it ended, that I still say that Brandon Cain probably still doesn't know how it fully ended, but I think us fans know, commentators, they well know, and I think the only people that do not fully know right now is the ref, and then also Brandon Cain himself. And I think that kind of gives a testimony to how much Tony Johnson wanted to leave an impact on saying that he beat first class Brandon Cain. I mean, this guy is calling himself the new legend of Pittsburgh. Are you kidding me?
the new Pittsburgh legend is what Tony Johnson's decided to call himself, and as Rev mentioned, he cheated his way through that entire match. He ended up getting a victory with a hold of the ropes, and so that allowed him to get the win over Brandon Cain. Then he offered his handshake, because I don't think Brandon knew, as you said, that Tony actually cheated to get the win. So Brandon reluctantly shook his hands as a show of good sportsmanship and good faith. I don't know if Brandon got a chance to watch the tape, if he knows what happened, but I'm sure when he finds out, or when he found out,
I'm gonna have my people call his people. Trust me, the ref saw it.
I think this whole show is his people. I think he'll be made aware of the way that Tony ended up winning.
Are you trying to tell me I'm not the boss of the RYSE Report?
You're absolutely.
Are you trying to tell me my people didn't buy this? Do you know who I am?
Dude, you're just straight up making stuff up right now. Just calm down.
I'm sorry. I had a.
Brandon Cain, as we all know, is the owner and operator of RYSE Wrestling. That's kind of why he started this whole thing here, was to give a showcase to the talent that he trained and give them a place to work and compete and perform. And Tony Johnson is a little bitter, maybe because he wasn't one of Brandon's trainees. Maybe he feels a little bit slighted. But he's calling himself the new Pittsburgh legend. I think that's a knock on Brandon, because many consider him to be a Pittsburgh legend. Tony cheated to get the win. Brandon, we're going to have to see how he responds.
My thing is with this. Tony wanted a match with first-class Brandon Cain. He decides to try to maul any student that is a seed of Brandon Cain that he could. The common sense question, and maybe, Tony, if you're watching this, you can answer this for me. Why didn't you just ask for the match from the jump? That's the real question. Why not just ask for it? I mean, us knowing how Brandon Cain is, he would have gave it to you, mainly because he probably thinks he can kick your behind anyway, because, he's a legend. But when it comes down to it, why not just ask for it? I think instead he decided to take the easy way out, attack student after student. Brandon Cain came and rescued student after student. And then when it finally came down to it, Tony really wanted that match. And I think he got it. Now, the thing is with this, Tony is he could be from years from now a legend on his own. This is a guy that's athletic. This is a guy that's versatile. This is a guy that can maneuver and try to figure out a way to win, and he has the athleticism to do it. But yet, I think at this point, veteranship outdoes age, outdoes beauty when it's all said and done. No matter how much Tony Johnson tried to cheat, First Class Brandon Cain always had a way of out-wrestling him and getting the upper hand all the way to the end. When we saw later in the match, there was a low blow shot that was involved, but then also on a reversal of an O'Connor roll, Tony Johnson re-out-leveraged it, but he got so close to the edge of the ropes he was able to hold on. That 1-2-3 was made to where yet, like I stated, we're still left with questions, including Brandon Cain, on if he cheated or not. My last question is, what is going to be Brandon Cain's reaction when he finds out?
Zoom. For well over 2 decades, it's been the area's most reliable internet service. And our wireless network keeps your whole home connected to the internet, no matter how many different devices you have. Call or visit us online and see the difference speed can make. The future is faster with Zoom.
Welcome back, guys. Right now, we're jumping right on in. Like I said, we had action all throughout the night, DK. We're going to #privilege. That's the team of the flawless one, David Lawless, and Dr. Dan, versus, well, it should be Team Honey Bear, but for some reason, Honey Badger was not there, leaving Keith Hart to have to fend for himself, coming in like a ball of fire, with it being now 2, Dr. Dan and David Lawless, versus 1, Keith Hart. I really, really thought, DK, that Keith Hart had this. This is a guy that is known to upset and do the impossible. But when it came down to it, I think the numbers game played out, but yet the full pendulum swung back around, and we had a surprise win at the end.
That's right. We don't know exactly why Honey Badger wasn't here, but David Lawless, being the maniacal lawyer that he is, made his point to be clear with the contract here at RYSE Wrestling that the match that was made, and Keith Hart had to go on without Honey Badger's presence, though her presence was felt later on after Lawless and Dr. Dan had their way with Hart for several minutes.
David Lawless actually put on the vest in a way of mocking. I don't say it's mocking, I'm just saying seeing if it fits or so you might want some extra attire. But he went to the top to do one of Keith Hart's signature moves. However, he was caught a little bit off guard by hearing Honey Badger's music, left out of that position, went to meet her up top, which I think any person would do. You don't want to be caught off guard, as I think it's even something in all combat sports and boxing, protect yourself at all times. So I think that's exactly what David Lawless went to do. However, just by that simple miscommunication, that misdirection, Keith Hart was still in the ring with the legal guy, who was Dr. Dan then, and Keith Hart was able to get a win right at the end on Dr. Dan.
That's right. Both Dan and Lawless caught off guard by that music. I think turnabout is fair play on the part of Keith and Honey Badger, who I don't think Keith should have been put into this position to begin with, but he ended up making the most out of it.
What do you mean you don't think? There's a contract. If anyone knows anything about a contract, if you sign the contract.
When was the contract signing? I didn't see that segment last month. As far as
you
I'm
don't
aware,
see any segment.
Well, once in a while, when it's worth the hype of signing a contract specifying the match, they have a contract signing. This was not one of those cases. It was a match announcement. I don't know what the stipulation is in their generic competitor contract that would make Keith Hart compete in this match. He didn't sign one specific to this match that I'm aware of. He's a competitor at RYSE. And apparently that means that you have to compete in a handicap match on the whim of David Lawless?
No, it's not compete in a handicap match. It's once your thing is on that. It's like any other talent contract. Hey, if it comes down to the close and someone has to cancel out, guess what? You can't go back. You can't outdo it.
Well,
You're already signing
what
the
else?
contract.
Guess what else? It didn't matter because Keith Hart got the victory in the end. As I said, turnabout fair play.
Lucky.
Whatever. Keith got the victory. Lawless and Dr. Dan did not appear to be happy about that afterwards. Looked like they were about to get into it, but then they...
Fake news once again. Fake news once again.
Did you watch it? Because that's what happened. They were at each other's faces. They looked like they were about to get into it, but then they decided to kiss and make up.
Well, I don't know. About
metaphorically
all that.
speaking,
That's
they hugged it out. They hugged it out. But a little bit of tension might be brewing between the two of them, and it'll be interesting to see where that goes. All right, ladies and gentlemen, now we take you to what was the main event of that night, Challenge of a Champion. It saw Derek Direction defending his title against Lee Moriarty, former champion, Matt Connard, former champion, Jinx, and London Ali.
Two ladies that are in this main thing, and I think also T
and PB Smooth. That's the sixth man. Yes.
When you look at this, I think just talking about the history of what RYSE Wrestling does here, two females in this main event here, which I think is continuing to show what female wrestlers can do within this business. They can stand toe-to-toe with some of the best, including fellow male competitors. And I think that proved itself as we made our way all the way down to the main event to crown who that champion would be. And, this was something that I feel like, kind of shocked some people as we continued to go on through the match. But at the same time, nevertheless, it never disappointed.
Yeah, and one major shock is that the first elimination happened to be Lee Moriarty. That came by way of the Grindhouse on behalf of Derek Direction, always having to get involved on his behalf. That upset the main event, Duke and Gannon, after their large spat earlier in the night. They come back out, tables are turned, everything gets back to normalcy, and we continued with the match going forward. 5 competitors left after Lee was eliminated, and the second elimination saw Jinx hitting a tornado DDT on London Ali, kind of getting retribution for a previous victory that London had over Jinx here at RYSE.
Absolutely. Even going even further than that, when you look at the next one, Derek Direction, PB Smooth hits that big, what many have said is one of the most devastating power slams, choke slams within this industry here today. As big as PB Smooth is, clearly when you get hit with that, especially as tall as PB Smooth is, you're in for a rude awakening. And I think that's exactly what happened with Derek Direction. Then, when it came down to it, the Giant, PB Smooth, the Reaper, Matt Connard, it came down to it, no disqualifications, mind you. The Reaper, Matt Connard, grabs that belt, uses the belt, gets the pin. Personally with me, a lot of people didn't like it. I'd say it was justified, no disqualification.
Well, that's the second event in a row here at RYSE where a big title match ended in a big controversy. Matt Connard used the title belt to get the victory over PB Smooth, taking advantage of the non-disqualification clause, which, to be honest, as you said, a lot of people were unhappy with. You don't like to see a title match end in that type of situation.
But it does. There's no disqualification. It was justified. Hey, did the ref see it? Did he disqualify him? No. You want to know why? No disqualification. So therefore, in my opinion, it was justified.
That's right. Matt Connard walks away a 2-time RYSE Grand Champion with a victory finally over PB Smooth after outlasting the other 5 competitors in the match. Matt Connard is going to have a bullseye on his back, especially after the way that he won it. We're going to have to see how that goes.
Absolutely. If you think that bullseye is going to stop here, it is not even going to stop after this show, because you want to make sure that you are right here live at the Stronghold Arena, 1952 University Drive, Lamont Furnace, right back here where we are right now on May 4th. May the 4th be with you. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Rev Ron Hunt, the one-man multi-universe, whatever your name is, Nickelback Chad. I don't know what his name is, but you're tuning in to the RYSE Report, and we're going to toss this to the match of the week.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, his opponent. Pennsylvania, weighing in tonight at 197 pounds, first class, Brendan Cain.
He is the founder of RYSE Pro Wrestling. He is one of the most respected, one of the most revered, and one of the most established Pittsburgh legends.
And here we go. What is it about the crowd tonight? Everybody likes to fight it.
Paul, Tony Johnson wanted to use this opportunity to play spoiler to Brandon Cain's retirement tour. Brandon Cain was selecting top-tier opponents for the year 2019. The Iceman interjected himself in that equation because, quite simply, the Iceman wants to make his name off of Brandon Cain's legacy.
It's not that Tony Johnson's not a top-tier wrestler. He is. But he's also insufferable with his ego and just had to get himself into this picture.
Oh, he couldn't ask for a matchup. He had to manipulate his way in. That's the difference. Trust me, if Tony Johnson would have went to Brandon Cain and requested this matchup, I guarantee you Brandon Cain wouldn't have turned it down.
I know he would, because I know Brandon Cain inside and out. I trained the man. You challenge him one-on-one like a man, he will step up and do it. You don't got to take the back door.
Tony Johnson wanted to manipulate and exploit his way in because he wants to boost his own ego. He wanted people talking about the Iceman ahead of this event, and that's exactly what happened. And Brandon's a little too wise for that maneuver.
One step ahead.
Brandon shoots him off here. Deep arm drag. Look at how crisp Brandon is, even with 20 years in the game. Tilt-a-whirl arm drag. Poetry in motion is the founder of RYSE. And launches Johnson the length of the ring.
And now I'm thinking Tony Johnson might think he bit off a little more than he can chew as he takes the low road, I should say, and takes a timeout outside the ring.
Not that easy.
You know, it's very interesting here, Paul, that Johnson, and still at a very young age, has the veteran presence to take a powder when he can reassert himself and regroup. Brandon Cain's giving chase because, quite frankly, there's a lot of animosity in this matchup.
And once again, Brandon's one step ahead.
You know, we've sung the praises of the athlete that is Tony Johnson. He's really found himself in the main event, but there is no substitution for experience.
No, not at all. And not to downplay, like you said before, he's a young athlete in this business, but Tony Johnson has been in the ring with some of the best around, myself included. So, it's nothing to shake a stick at. This guy does know what he's doing. Like I said before, a little insufferable with his ego since joining the main event, but nonetheless, he's still a world-class athlete.
Johnson here trying to manipulate the position of the referee, which is no surprise. Brandon up in a blatant low blow. I'm going to say that Johnson knew exactly what he was doing there.
Oh, without a doubt, he knows what he knew exactly how to position that referee to sneak that in.
Brandon is hurt here. Clearly, he took to the floor to try to regroup here. He went to the floor immediately. Clearly, he's in a lot of pain right now. And had he not hit the floor, this matchup may already be over. Because referee George Ross is at a 5 count and Brandon's still on the floor.
I can't tell from our vantage point, is he even moving?
Obviously, if he was still in the ring right now, this would have been a 3 count. Brandon wise. And again, he's going to break the count, but he's staying on the outside. We may have to stop this matchup. I don't know if Brandon can continue here.
He may be injured beyond being able to go on.
Johnson's going to press the advantage, though.
What's that?
And as underhanded as it might seem, that's smart strategy.
Call me Tony Stark. Iron Man.
Look out! Look out! And Missy Sorg almost gets taken out with a flying Brandon K.
Nobody's safe here tonight. Our camera crews, our referees.
That was close.
I think Tony owes an apology to Missy. He didn't need to drive Brandon into the ring post. He just didn't care if one of our staff gets hurt in the process. Again, it's all ego from Tony Johnson.
That it is.
And a stomp to the lumbar region. Again, the most susceptible spot, for damage in the back.
It's okay, I understand you're a little shaken up by all this tonight.
It's been a very wild night.
Get your shot after it in.
God bless you. Brandon kicks out at 2.5 there, but again, he's still favoring that low blow that we saw earlier. The complexion of this matchup completely changed in that exchange.
Without a doubt, he kicked him in the jewels. What do you expect?
I didn't want to say it quite like that.
I'm old and grumpy. I get away with me.
No, you don't say. Look out, the Vermont Furnace crowd gonna rally Brandon Cain. Oh man!
Huge backbreaker.
What a twisting backbreaker. Extra torque for extra impact. And this may be the one chink in the armor of Tony Johnson. His braggadocious nature may cost him. And again, he took time to showboat, which I guarantee you allowed Brandon Cain to extricate himself from that pinfall predicament.
You want to be somebody that likes of Brandon Cain. When you got him down, you better take advantage. Don't be jaw-jacking to the crowd, because you give Brandon time, he's going to be right back in his face.
And notice how Johnson hooked Brandon Cain's arms in the ropes. Brandon Cain has no way to protect himself from these shots. Brandon prone on the canvas. And pinpoint precision from the Iceman. He buried both boots right in that lower back.
Then again, still showboat, giving Brandon time to catch his breath. If Tony Johnson has one flaw, it's that ego.
At this juncture, it may be irrelevant because right now Brandon's in a bad way, and this body lock will look to sap the energy from the owner of RYSE. Paul, if you can, I'm going to cut you, I'm sorry, but when someone restricts the breathing like this, how does this impact an athlete overall?
Well, like you said, you can't draw a breath, and if you notice, not only does he have it locked around his lower back, but his diaphragm area. It's getting harder and harder for Brandon to draw breath the more he squeezes. You take away that oxygen, and you're going to take away his ability to fight.
Tilt-a-whirl satellite head scissor. Desperation maneuver from Brandon. Using that veteran sense. 2.5.
That was close. Very close.
Wow. Oh, what a vertical leap from Johnson.
Caught him right in the jaw.
He got all the way up. 2 boots right in the face.
Brandon had to dig down deep for that one. I don't know how he kicked out.
Brandon has built his career on guts and tenacity, and that's exactly what he used right there to kick out. Johnson taking his time in there. He's using this opportunity like a highlight reel because he wants people talking about what he did to Brandon Cain.
You notice he continues to punish the lungs, punish the back of Brandon Cain, zapping the strength every chance he gets.
And you can see Johnson continuing to press forward, meticulously going through the playbook, which again is no accident because Johnson wants to showcase everything he can do inside the ring.
Look at the way he digs way down and pulls way back before delivering those forearm uppercuts, putting all of his weight behind him.
That was a very unique collision, and again, that goes back to the fact that Johnson is looking to showcase everything he can do on this platform.
Yeah, and to use that little rope to his advantage, because not only did he throw his body into Brandon's midsection, but that rope went right across the lower back. Punishment from the front, punishment from the back.
Brandon Cain is in a very bad way right now. I would never try to doubt the heart or fight or ability of Brandon Cain, but He's staggered against the ropes. And unfortunately, Johnson may get exactly what he's hoping for here. An opportunity to show everything he can do.
And dare I say it, out of all the matches Brandon has had so far in his 2019 retirement tour, I have to say right now, this is the worst we've ever seen for Brandon. He's taken more punishment tonight than I think he's taken in all the other matches combined.
Look out, high risk here. Brandon puts on the brakes, trying to hang on. Desperation maneuver, just headbutt into the chest.
He's going for it all here.
Brandon's up top.
Swinging for the fences.
Beautiful crossbody. What impact.
It's gone by 10 minutes.
Brandon is rolling in the stronghold.
He's digging down deep now, trying to get every ounce of energy he's got left. Trying to take out Tony Johnson.
Northern Lights.
Beautifully executed. He's got his shoulders.
Johnson escaped.
Brandon trying to draw energy from this crowd here tonight in the stronghold. He's setting them up.
Oh wait, Johnson caught him. Knee strike right to the temple. Johnson grinning like a Cheshire cat. Poetry in motion.
I gotta say it, Brandon's out.
No, he kicked out.
Where did that energy come from?
Paul, so far in this retirement tour, we've seen Brandon defeat men like Super Hentai, men like Matt Connor. And to your point, this is the most jeopardy we've seen Brandon in so far in 2019. This is covering a lot of ground. And love him or hate him is speaking to the ability of Tony Johnson to put the owner of RYSE in this much jeopardy.
He's trying to push him into retirement early.
Release German drops the Iceman on his head.
Got him up.
Could be going for the K driver. Johnson counters.
Another switch. Going for the roll.
Roll. Wait, Johnson reverse. Wait a minute. He's got the rope. Damn it.
Did the referee see that?
Here's your winner.
Wait a minute, what?
Result of a pinfall.
Wait, Johnson had the ropes.
Tony Johnson.
Wait a minute here.
From the vantage point of the referee, he did not see Tony Johnson holding on to that middle rope.
Referee George Ross didn't see it. Clearly Brandon couldn't see it, but we saw it. Johnson had those ring ropes. Are we really going to let this stand?
It looks that way.
I mean, we know this is one of the last matches of Brandon's legendary career.
I don't think we've had an official announcement yet.
Now don't give him the fight.
Come on, Red.
Brandon Cain. I said at the beginning of this match, I was going to get your respect. So I think we need to do one more thing before this is over.
I'm going to punch you right in your mouth.
Well, somebody needs to tell Brandon what actually happened here.
I'm not sure Brandon's aware at all. He's heading back down towards the ring.
Now, this was a con job. This was a sham. And Johnson had to take a shortcut to get a 3 count. That's exactly what happened. And when Brandon watches this event on IndieWrestling.us, he's going to know it. And what a charlatan Johnson is, trying to protest, claim innocence.
Yeah, he's innocent as a newborn baby rat.
That's about the only show of respect that Johnson's going to get. Quite frankly, he doesn't even deserve that. A very disappointing ending. had the ropes. Brandon, he did have the ropes. So now Brandon's asking us. I'm going to tell you, yeah, he had the ropes.
I shook his hand like a man, but it's done yet.
All right, Brandon. Well, Brandon's upset, and the Iceman is smiling right now.